Hi, I am Vizinczey, and this is my new book, If Only. I wrote two previous novels, In Praise of Older Women and An Innocent Millionaire. And I am now going to do a little reading from If Only, my new book. One thing about my books is that every chapter has a quote, and I try to reflect really that this is a book which is the continuation of Western literature. I have here a poem from Ted Hughes, which I'm very pleased can be found anywhere except the archives of the Times, which he wrote as a poet laureate for Library Day. And it says, 14th centuries have learned from charred remains that what took place when Alexandria's library burned brain damaged the human race. The heroine of the book is an English teacher, and he's terribly upset that the government is closing libraries and don't understand that books are the essence of making us thinking people. Because when we read, we have to imagine if somebody comes into the room, we have to imagine that person, we have to imagine the room, or imagination has to keep working. When we watch something, we are spoon-fed. We see the room, we see the person who comes in. You don't really have to imagine much. So the heroine is very unhappy because he lost her child, and but unlike most people being hurt, he doesn't attack and takes out his anger and disappointment, her anger and disappointment on her nearest and dearest, but on the government. And she describes how she deals with children her students who feel much superior to her because they do texting and do things on the internet. They feel sorry for me as if they were flying about in jets and I was stuck in an ox cart. Of course, the assumption that we acquire the most up-to-date knowledge from images is an attractive one, especially as watching television requires no mental effort. But what we learn mainly from images is what even an intelligent dog or a crow might pick up: animal knowledge, feelings without much thought. That may be quite a lot, but it isn't enough to create a civilized human being or a functioning society. There are good films and television programs, but a daily diet of several hours watching a screen shrinks the brain. One of the deadliest consequences of a daily overdose of films and videos that the visual media are limited in the number of words they can use, so they reduce the number of words in common usage and thereby reduce our ability to think. It is impossible to think without words. You can only think what you have a word for. You can only say what you have a word for. There is not a lot you can think and say without a vocabulary, with a meager vocabulary. Our minds needs exercise just as much as our body. Watching a man entering a room on the screen, we see the man and we see the room. Our brain doesn't have to do anything. By contrast, when we read that a man enters the room, even if a scene is minutely described, we have to imagine both the man and the room. To keep our brains fit, we have to perform mental gymnastics. We have to exercise our imagination. This is, you will all notice this when you watch people talking on television, apart from professional performers. When you see a person who is not in the media being interviewed, you see what a meager vocabulary they have and how little they can express what they think. And I think some of the violence comes from the fact that people are unable to express and tell everything they know. Well, this is for one thing, and I will see you next time. But I want to say that I feel very, I feel I'm cheating the book by reading you little bits, because what is a great thing about the book, that you live in it and you can read the whole thing. So I don't know really how much use you will find in little bits. See you next time.